Hey, what is up guys? It's your boy Speed here, and today we're getting into 7.32e and more, which is their wording. 7.32e and more. I don't really know what and more means, considering the patch is supposed to be everything. Whatever, let's get into it. So we're going to be covering, I'm not going to cover Muerta, that's the new hero. I'm going to make a gameplay video on that hero when it comes out. I'm going to play a game or watch someone else's game to give you guys a full analysis on how to play the hero. I don't want to just like cover the abilities, you can watch that somewhere else. But we're going to look at the general changes and then get into the item and hero changes. So let's get into it. The first thing that they put a huge change on, which frankly I don't care about, I'm not a turbo player, so I'm not going to cover it. It's just turbo changes. It's a huge list of turbo changes. Okay, we'll get into the general changes, which are very minimal. Reinforced units now take 10% less damage from player-controlled creeps. Okay, effects like summons, treants, eidolons, etc. So basically, heroes like Nature's Prophet, Enigma, Beastmaster do less damage to reinforced units, which I think means carts, which is just bad for unit heroes. It's not a huge change as far as I'm concerned. It just means it's harder to kill towers. I think it also means towers, actually. Oh yeah, it means towers. So it's like quite a bit harder to take towers as unit heroes, which is a big nerf to the pro scene. It's a fine change. I respect that. Range creeps are now level 5. Prevents Enigma and others from converting them early. Okay, just a hard nerf to Enigma. I don't really know who others are. Who else is taking range creeps earlier? Maybe Chen, if you played Chen Core? That's like it, I guess. Glyph tower bonus attack targets increase from 4 to 5. Why? I already hated Glyph. What? Is it really a good idea to make Glyph stronger? I feel like Glyph was like pretty AIDS. I almost would have been curious if they got rid of Glyph, like how that would have affected the game. Go back to that and make an interesting change. I feel like going from 4 to 5 is just AIDS. Like I really hate playing against Glyph, and now it's better. Okay, let's get into the items. Abyssal attack damage increased by 5. Bloodstone duration increased by 1 second. It's a decent change. Boots of Bearing no longer has charges, so I guess that means you could just spam it, probably? Rapier is much cheaper now. How would the total cost be decreased? That means they had to buff either Sacred Relic or Demon Edge. Enchanted Mango losing a ton of HP regen, a heavy nerf to mangoes, which are becoming a very popular item, one of my most coveted items. So mangoes, I don't want to say out of the meta, but probably close to out of the meta. Maybe you'll buy one if you need burst mana, but probably not. Scotty, slow versus ranged heroes increased from 40 to 50. So Scotty against ranged heroes just removes them. 4 staff mana cost increased, okay, pretty significant. It's actually rough for supports. Gleipnir damage is decreased by 40 and the radius decreased by 50. I don't think enough to make the item unusable though. Probably still a pretty solid item on the few heroes that was good on the Linas and the NPs of the world. Guardian Greaves bonus regen decreased by 4 when your teammates go below 25% HP. You get less bonus regen by 4 and less armor by 2. I would still say Greaves is a good item, but it's an okay item unless they nerfed the other components, which I hope they did because like mech is too good in my opinion. Hurricane Pike thrust mana cost. Okay, so this is the same thing as 4 staff. 5 damage decrease on Maelstrom. 5 damage. 5. Okay. 5 damage less. Meteor Hammer channel time decreased from 2.5 to 2. Total time until impact decreased. Okay, so Meteor Hammer is much easier to hit and easier to set up. I don't mind that. Nullifier much cheaper. So they must have buffed Sacred Relic, which means Radiance is also cheaper, which it is. Okay, so they buffed Sacred Relic, clearly. They buffed Sacred Relic. Revenant's Brooch. Phantom Province now grants 60 attack speed for its duration. Wow, that's a ton. And you can get Spell Lifesteal. Alright, big buff to Revenant's Brooch. A pretty unpopular item because it's sort of niche. You need a Witchblade. But it's good in some late game situations in this bonus attack speed. This is a cool change. I like this change. It makes the item much more viable. Very nice, very nice. Sacred Relic? Cheaper. Okay, it was a very unpurchased item. Honestly, this Radiance buff and this Nullifier buff are huge. I think Nullifier's a very underrated item. And now that it's 400 gold cheaper, Nullifier, broken item. I'm going to say it now, semi-broken item. 400 gold is a lot cheaper, like a lot cheaper. It's only 5 damage less. Even Radiance, I'm going to say it's very strong as certain heroes. Only 5 damage less on the tick. No, that's damage bonus. It's not even the AoE, is it? I can't hover it because I'm not in client, but I believe this is only the right-click damage you get as well, which is like whatever. If the burn damage is the same, then Radiance is just significantly better, which I'm actually okay with. It's almost an unpurchased item, so I actually like these changes. Very significant, increasing the purchase rate of some very underpurchased items. I like these changes to Sacred Relic. I think it's pretty cool and definitely interesting and something that will actually affect the game. Shadowblade now removes invisibility if bonus damage is applied during the fade time. Oh, I didn't know you could do that. Solar Crest, all attributes increased by 1, movement speed increased by 5, Wraithband nerfed. Okay, I mean, by 1 attack speed. Base attack time improved by a lot on Abaddon. Radiance Abaddon? Radiance Abaddon? Okay. Dude, this hero clicks so fast. Radiance Manta Abaddon is actually going to go hard. I'm calling it now. If you want a fun pub build, go Radiance Manta Abaddon. Or even Treads Wand Blade Mail. Treads Wand Blade Mail Radiance Manta actually goes like crazy. I could totally see this hero being like a fun pub core, like pretty fun. Alchemist max stun increased by almost 0.5 seconds to level 1. That's huge. And bonus damage per scepter. Okay, wow, a big buff to the max stun at level 1. This is very notable for Al. Pretty substantial change. I like that. It's a good change. It makes the hero quite a bit better at level 1. Almost 0.5 seconds. All right, Ancient Apparition. Extra 100 attack range on the Chilling Touch attack range. I actually like AA core, so I like this change. It makes the Ags build quite a bit better, so you can really go for that Ags and have a ton of attack range with Chilling Touch. I really think this hero as a core is like pretty freaking good, and I would have liked to see maybe one extra change to make it like viable, because like I like when they make significant changes. Make it viable. Attack backswing decreased on any mage. Okay, I don't really know how much, I don't really know exactly what it does. Now applies the mini stun to affect all units. Oh, that's actually pretty significant. It definitely matters. Cancels a lot more TPs, and the mini stun can cancel, certain channeling spells. It can cancel a lot in the AoE. That's pretty good. Aghanim Scepter's secondary Spark Wraith search decreased. Were people even still going this build? I guess so. Arc Warden's win rate was like relatively high in pubs, so I guess they're nerfing the Ags to decrease the search radius on the second Spark Wraith, which is very specific, but okay. Axe base movement speed increased by 5, pretty significant. Movement speed increases are always a big deal. And then radius on spin increased by 25, which is actually a lot. So pretty big buffs to Axe. And Vanguard's a pretty solid item right now, so I could see Axe being an underrated hero in the upcoming patch. Bane got 1 base attributes, it's pretty significant. And then Shard, slight buff, whatever. Sticky Napalm mana increased on Battle Rider. Okay, reasonably significant, not bad. Aghanim Scepter secondary, whatever. Okay, so slight nerf to Battle Rider's mana cost increase. Beastmaster Drums of Slom, which is the Ags that almost no one buys, increased by 5 damage. Bounty Hunter movement attack speed slow rescaled from 16, 24, 32, 40 to 15, 25, 35, 45. Relatively inconsequential. Fire Bruling armor increased from 048 to 0816. That's a lot of armor on the Fire Bruling at max. 8 more armor is actually super significant. Max movement speed bonus decreased from 18. Okay, so these are major brood nerfs. Oh, okay. So you really cannot buy the Ags. Whoa. Oh my god. Okay, huge brood nerfs. Huge brood nerfs. You get way less movement speed at level 1. 8% less, 6%. Nearly same at max, but pretty rough. Spinner Snare, the Axe is way worse. A Spiderling's lifetime decreased from 40, 45, 50 to 40 flat, making this hero way worse later on. And the Spiderites, the smaller ones, used to be 60 all the way down to 40. A 33% decrease is insanely rough for Brood. Do I think it still could be a good hero? I do, but it's way worse for sure. This is a huge nerf. Might put Brood in like unplayable for the average player, to be honest. I would say it's pretty unplayable for the average player. Like straight up unplayable. I would not pick Brood. Hitch a Ride now grants Centaur Stampede buff. Also increases Stampede duration if cast during Stampede rather than refreshing the buff. Wow, and the cooldown was buffed. Okay, this actually makes it somewhat viable to Centaur Ags, because Stampede, it gives you the Stampede buff, so when you cast it, not only are you running extremely fast, you also do the bonus damage in the slow, I would imagine. So this actually makes Centaur Ags very viable. Very viable. I could see people building it for sure. I like that, that's a cool change. Chaos Bolt, mana cost decreased at all levels on CK. Okay, nothing crazy. Not gonna make the hero too viable. Now it always creates 1 Burning Army skeleton after breaking the invisibility. Always creates 1, even in the laning stage. Aghanim Shard decreased from 2 to 1, so you just don't buy the Shard now. That's a big Clinks buff for a hero with a pretty high win rate. Clinks is gonna be pretty stupid, I think, because now you can just use this to kill people at any point in the lane as well. Like it just like zones people. I don't know. That's potentially really strong. Darkseer normal punch decreased from 2.25 to 2. Max stun duration. Dazzle. 10 damage talent increased from 50 to 60. Intelligence gain on DP reduced by 0.3. Strength gain reduced by 0.2. Its talents at level 10, the magic resistance talents, which was always picked, almost always picked, reduced by 2% from 14 to 12. Siphon damage replaced with, okay, At level 15, you could either take Crisp Swarm cooldown or Spirit Siphon damage and heal. I would always take Crisp Swarm cooldown, so this frankly doesn't even affect me at all. Or you can take 300 health, and they moved the Spirit Siphon damage and heal to 20, which I personally wouldn't even suggest taking at 15. So I'm going to say a somewhat uncalculated and stupid change to Death Prophet. This is not why the hero was good. It was certainly not the Siphon talent at 15, so is this hero still viable? Absolutely. Dragonite. Elder Dragon Reform reduced from 105 to 100. Aghanim Scepter no longer reduces cooldown by 5 seconds. Okay, so just an overall buff. And the mana cost on Fireball, its shard, reduced by 20. Alright, I don't think the hero is good now, but it's a big buff to Elder Dragon Form, 5 seconds cooldown. Okay, Frost Arrows on Drow. Aghanim Shard regen reduction per stack decreased from 10% to 8%. It's still a ton of healing reduction. Now only grants ally range heroes half of the bonus to Agi. This doesn't make Drow unpickable, because you can pick Drow with no other ranged cores on your team, and she's still a very viable hero. However, it nerfs certain Drow comps, like the very popular Drow Nature's Prophet that's been going around. It's a huge hit to those comps for sure. Echo Stomp, wake up damage threshold increased, okay, by not much. A lot at max, 50 more at max. Damage per hero increased by a lot. Okay, so no, it's not that much. It's 3 at level 1, so you'll get up to like 6 damage on average. It's something. It's not nothing, but it's something early on. 6 damage is a lot early on, but it's nothing crazy. Level 10 damage decreased from 15 to 12 on Ember Spirit's level 10 talent. Nothing crazy. And the level 20 Sleight of Fist hero damage decreased. Whatever, the hero's about the same, maybe slightly worse. You could take the Flame Guard Absorption at 10. That talent's good. Enchantress. Enchant cooldown rescaled. So it's 30-second cooldown instead of 28 at level 1, but instead of 16 at max, it goes all the way to 12, which is actually a big buff. You can enchant creeps like crazy, and enchant heroes like crazy. It's a pretty big buff. However, the slow at level 1 went from 55 to 30. Oh, but it's 5 seconds flat now. So it's a 30% slow for 5 seconds instead of 3.75 by 55%, which I think is overall a nerf in the movement speed slow. It's longer, but only 1.25. for nearly half of the slow, so I'm gonna say overall a nerf to enchant. I guess at max it's kind of better. I don't know, it's very weird. And then Little Friend's cast range, whatever, no one buys that almost ever. I've heard it's okay, but I rarely see it. Ink Swell damage increased per second. It's a decent more at max from 55 to 70. It's pretty significant. And Soulbind is better at level 1, but these changes just don't feel like enough to really push these heroes into the meta for me. That's how I feel, at least. Acorn Shot bonus damage on Hoodwink increased at max level, basically the same at all other levels. It's not nothing, you know, but it's the same at level 1, which is the most important for like your average support Hoodwink. It's good for core Hoodwink and max, 15 more damage per proc. It's good for pushing in waves, farming, killing people. It's a solid size buff. Inner Fire Disarm on Huskar, slightly longer at level 1, not too much of a change, and that's about it. Jakiro. Ice Path duration increased. No, this is the duration of the spell. So the duration of Ice Path being on the ground is longer now. It was 2.6 at level 1, now it's 3 at level 1. And it used to be 3.5 at max, now it's 4.5 at max. Max stun duration is unchanged, so it stuns for the same amount of time. But that's a big buff, because it's going to linger on the ground at max level for an extra whole second, which is actually a ton. That's like a lot. So pretty big buff to Jakiro. Now applies its damage immediately upon casting rather than after 0.5 seconds, and a big buff to Macropyre. So massive buffs to Jakiro, making the hero quite a bit better. Macropyre being able to cancel blinks instantly and doing a little bit more damage is actually very significant on this hero. Juggernaut base damage increased by 3 on a low roll and 1 on max roll, which is pretty significant. Aghanim Shard attack rate increased from 1.2 to 1.4, so making the shard, oh no, that's a nerf, right? You would want a lower attack rate, if I'm not mistaken. So they nerfed the shard, and they made the crit 10% better, which is not nothing, it's something, but not a big deal. Keeper of the Light, okay. Pulse Nova, 10 less damage at all levels. Oh wait, no, it's 10 less damage at level 1, 5 less damage at 12, and then 10 less again at max. That's such weird scaling now, but it basically makes the ability usable. It's so much worse. This ability used to be 100 damage per second at level 1, now it's 80, and they nerfed Bloodstone. This hero is getting hit hard. To be fair, it's very popular, so I'm fine with it. I'm like okay with these changes, but that's rough. No, I'm okay with it though. I actually respect these changes. Intelligence gain on Lich, 3.6 to 3.8. Cast time improved on Frostblast, whatever. Dragon Slave on Lina, so one of the most popular carries of the patch. Nerfing the cooldown of Dragon Slave, okay, which I would say actually matters a good amount for keeping your stacks up with level 1 Dragon Slave. Light Strike Array, mana cost increased at all levels. Okay, I wouldn't say that's the end of the world. The hero has a pretty good mana pool, but it hurts. The attack speed bonuses, so this is what matters. The attack speed bonuses from 10 to 8, 20 to 16, 30 to 24, and 40 to 32. That's massive at max, because that's 8 times 7, which is 56 less attack speed at max level. That's a lot less attack speed. So pretty big nerf to Lina, and movement speed 0.5 less at max. So definitely, I would say still playable, still a solid carry. I respect these changes. I think these are solid changes. I don't think the hero had to be killed necessarily. I would have been fine if it got killed, but it didn't get killed. These are solid changes that makes the hero viable, but not awful. Yeah, I'm okay with that. Lion, base armor increased by 1. Base agi decreased from 18 to 15. Why? Why? Okay, they buffed Finger of Death cooldown, which they needed to do for a long time, in my opinion. That's good. Finger of Death from 160 to 140 at level 1. Basically the same at the other levels. Monkey King, base agi increased by 1. Alright. Naga Siren, cast range on Ensnare nerfed at all levels by 75, which is actually a ton. Cooldown on Song of the Siren increased by a lot. The pulse speed on Reelin is buffed though, which no one bought, but okay. Nature's Prophet, my boy! No! Agility decreased from 22 plus 3.6 to 20 plus 3.4. Big nerf to the agi. Intelligence gain decreased by 0.2. Not the end of the world, but it does hurt. Base damage, this hurts. Okay, base damage on Wrath of Nature, 10 less at level 1. Which is a big nerf because even though it sounds like 10 less, how the ability works is the more it bounces, it goes up in damage percentage-wise. So the less damage, it's like a big deal. However, I still think this hero is very strong, and the level 20 Sprout Leashes no longer pierces spell immunity, which in my opinion is very understandable and reasonable. It was a little bit probably too strong, so I think these are overall fine changes to Furion. I think they're good changes. Death Pulse, mana cost decreased at max by 30, which is actually a lot. Pretty significant buff to Necro. I don't think we'll put him in the meta, but it's an okay hero in pubs. Ogre, basically the same. Omni Knight. Are you kidding me? Degen Aura, the shard that I've never seen a single person buy. The radius increased by 50. At least buff it by like 200. Like, who buys this shit? Nobody. Nobody buys it. Why only buff it by 50? What are you doing, Val? Please. Projectile speed, whatever. Outworld Devourer now deals double damage to illusions, so sanity is like an illusion counter or something. Shield Crash damage reduced by 15 at level 1, pretty significant. And Roll Up no longer applies a basic dispel on cast, which I think is good because this ability was a little bit too broken in my opinion. Pango Shard is like really stupid, but the hero is still good. It just does really slightly less damage at level 1, which makes it worse in lane. It's fair. PA Dagger base damage slightly increased. Dispel radius from 600 to 400 on Blur. That is a massive buff to Blur. You can basically be melee range and still blur next to someone, which makes you really hard to gank on creep waves, and it makes it really easy to click Blur, run up hills, and just find supports without getting detected. Big buff to Blur. That's a way bigger buff than people think. Is PA a good hero? No, but that's a big buff. Waning Rift. Damage decreased at level, it's just 10 bio levels, okay. Aghanim Scepter, bonus damage per second from Pudge from 195. I felt this hero didn't need to be nerfed anymore, but okay. Pugna, pointless change, Quap, 2 base damage, something. Aghanim Shard, Fort Lightning now has a 1 second internal cooldown. That ability got killed. Not killed, but it's like way worse, completely unusable at a pro level now, I think. Maybe it's still okay. Maybe it's still okay, but it's way worse, because now, like, if you're playing Skyra, you can button mash the guy, and you're only going to take 1 proc instead of, like, 3. You know, it's a big buff for certain heroes. Cast range on Ricky Dart decreased by 400! Why don't they make changes like this for other heroes? I mean, Ricky is a completely dead hero now, don't get me wrong, this hero is, like, straight up dead, but, like, why don't you do that to other heroes, too, to make it interesting? Like, cool, man. Ricky's dead. Cool. Do I think this is a bit much? Yes. Fine, though. Like, I would personally do it from 1,000 to 800, and then the cooldown from like 12 to 13, because I don't think the hero's that broken. That's my read on it. So I think this is a way overkill, but fine. You know what? It's better than freaking Waning Rift by 10 damage. It's better than that. So at least it's something. The Razor change was also a good one. I'll give them that. I think the Razor change is a good one. Rubik, Aghanim Shard no longer provides reduced cooldown when used on self or allies. I didn't even know it did that, but okay, good to know. Epicenter, attack speed slow increase, movement speed slow. That's like not that big of a deal, but I guess it's good situationally. Burrow Strike stun duration talent increased to level 10. It's pretty significant. 0.5 seconds on a stun is a lot at level 10. It's actually a really long duration stun. I think Sand King's like, if it wasn't such a bad laner, it'd be a good hero. I think it's like probably not a terrible hero, honestly. It does a lot in the mid game. Okay, pretty pointless. Cooldown on Arcane Curse, worse by 2 seconds at all levels, and the 10 Talon was nerfed, so pretty hard nerf to Arcane Curse. Corrosive Haze cast range increased by actually 200 at level 1, which is like really a big buff to Slaughter. Like that's like actually a really big buff. Cooldown on Pounce by 2 seconds at all levels, very significant to the Ag Slark in particular, so huge nerf to the Ag Slark, and the leap distance was decreased by 100, so big nerf to Slark. I think those are good changes, honestly. Don't kill the hero, but nerf maybe its Giga timing a little bit, which I think is fair. Base attack time on Storm increased by 0.1, okay, it's somewhat significant. It's better than the frickin' 0.6 to 0.5 mana regen, or 0.5 to 0.6. Aghanim Shard damage from Mortimer's Kiss's impact decreased by 50. Okay, just kill the shard, I guess. TA, 2 base strength. It's actually significant, but whatever. Tree Volley, Tiny Tree Ag is nerfed. Okay, kind of unnecessary, because I think it was like kind of balanced but fun. Bonus armor on Living Armor, 2 by all levels, and Nature's Guise no longer provides heal regen amplification. Okay, still a very viable hero, to be blunt. It's still 4 armor and 10 at max. Like, Treant is still completely viable. However, I will admit the no longer provides heal regen app is like a good change, and I actually really like this change. I think these are pretty reasonable nerfs to Treant, to be honest, because part of the reason he was broken is like when he sat in the tree with the Tango active, he got way too much regen. It was like really stupid. It was impossible to kill this hero in the lane. It was so annoying. Ice Shard's cast range decreased by a lot, and Punch crit on Tusk at level 1 worse by 50%, which is a lot at level 1. Okay, Undying Decay Steal duration by 5 seconds, not the end of the world, and Soul Rip mana cost, but you don't even skill that necessarily on most Undying, so Undying is still a good hero for sure. Decay damage talent, less than level 10, hurts the hero. I wonder if he's still one-shot range creeps, probably. Warlock, Golem damage increased by a decent amount at all level, nothing too significant. That's about it. Power Shot goes faster. Wyvern Curse now applies a Dispel to the target. Is that a nerf? Why would you want to dispel who you're cursing? Why would you want that? Am I missing something? Why would you want that? Oh, so they can't Ghost Scepter, I guess? Is that it? Ghost Scepter? What else are you purging? Glimmer? I guess? I mean, I guess like, no, I guess it's good in some scenarios, right? There's like a lot of things you can dispel. Now that I'm thinking about it. Maybe that's a good change, actually. Yeah, like Heavenly Grace, Bloodlust, Empower, Haze DD. You know, like you can use it like to like get rid of runes early game, like unironically. You can like get rid of someone's DD just by cursing them, which is like not a bad idea in a lot of scenarios. Okay, it's a cool change actually. The more like I read it at first and like it seems really random and kind of pointless, but it's a cool change. I like that actually. It's cool. All right, Voodoo Restoration heal damage, which I think is really awful. It's like I know Witch Doctor IO is like this cool concept, but even then I don't think it's good. Like I've watched the Game and Gladiators game. Personally, it doesn't look good to me. Like, I really just don't think it's good. I think it's, like, very counterable, and I think any Scotty carry just completely destroys it at some point in the game. I know it's, like, probably meant more so to be, like, a tempo strat that wins lane or whatever and plays fast, which I get, but I don't know. I just don't see it as that good, personally. And then the Maledict burst damage increased talent. Okay, is that it? Bug changes? All right. I don't know, guys. I'll cover Muerta in another video. I don't know. I don't know what to say. No map changes. No map changes, no... I mean, there's some, like, stats and quick casting. It's good. Like, quick casting changes. I mean, it's all good stuff. You can, like, favorite your friends, which is cool. I don't know what to say, guys. I'm gonna be blunt. Shit patch. I'm grateful that they make patches, but at the end of the day, like, I don't know who... I don't want to be too rude. I feel like they're not trying. That or they're like trolling us and they're going to put out another big patch tomorrow, which I just can't imagine they would do. That just seems like really stupid. All right, I don't know. I honestly want to help Valve with the patches. I want to make suggestions. I want to be on their team and help. I really do. So I don't know. I don't know how that's possible. I don't know who I'd get in contact to help that with. I just feel like I could like really amp up the game. Like just with hero and item changes, I could like really revolutionize the game every patch. And like, I'm sure people wouldn't like a lot of my changes. I'm sure maybe I'd over disrupt the game sometimes, but like at the same time, I mean, these changes are they're just nothing. I don't know if maybe I'm overreacting. I'm just giving my opinion. That's how I feel. I just was hoping for a 7.33 with map changes, maybe like some second objective, something. All right, I'll see you guys in the next one. I don't know, I'll see you in a Muerta video. I'm excited for Muerta. I'll give them that. I'm excited for the new hero. That's cool. It's gonna be fun, so I'm excited for that. I love Dota. Dota's the greatest game in the world, but these patches are just underwhelming. I'll see you in the next one. Peace. And that's all. But remember, before you leave, come on, before you tune out, subscribe to the Game Leap website where we are going to help you get to the next rank. If you're stuck, click the link down below, and I'm out. Peace.